Your LLM isn't dumb. It just lacks a critic. If you are struggling with hallucinations in production, the problem isn't the model, it's the architecture beneath it. And that is where we start. Basic prompting treats the LLM as a black box hoping for perfection. But in reality, we are building a cognitive pipeline that requires layers of quality control. To move from flaky prototype to production-grade system, you must introduce metacognition. You need the agent to think about its own thinking. This brings us to the critic agent pattern. This isn't just adding a second prompt, it's creating a specialized, dedicated QA layer. The critic agent's singular job is not to generate content. Its only function is verification, fact-checking, logical gap identification, and consistency validation. Think of it as a three-part dance. The planner generates the hypothesis. The executor executes the action against tools. And the critic verifies the outcome. When the executor returns a result, it doesn't go straight to the user. It enters the correction loop. The critic receives the raw output and is prompted with a specific task, based on your instructions. Does this answer contain factual errors or logical leaps? If the critic flags an issue, saying that the conclusion does not match the evidence gathered in step 2, the loop resets. The planner receives this critical feedback and is prompted not to retry blindly, but to specifically address the identified flaw. This is where self-correction happens. We move from a simple prompt chain to a robust, operational loop, generate-execute-critique-refine. And this is the blueprint for reliability. Let's see this in code. We use Python to manage the state transitions and orchestrate the feedback mechanism. We define the initial run. The planner generates a draft response based on the user query and available tools. The executor takes the draft and runs it through simulations or API calls to gather ground truth data. Now, the critic enters. We feed both the initial draft and the execution results into a specialized validation prompt. The critic's prompt is hyperspecific, identify any disconnect between the generated statement and the observed execution data. If the critic returns a pass, we move to final output. The confidence threshold has been met. But if it returns fail, we don't stop. We loop back, passing the critique as a constraint to the planner. The planner doesn't just regenerate, it *corrects*. It uses the critic's failure report as its primary constraint for the next attempt. This iterative refinement, the self-correction loop, is the difference between a chatbot and an autonomous, production-grade agent. Scaling this up means managing the iteration count. You must set a maximum attempts limit to prevent infinite loops. Beyond simple fact-checking, the critic can be tasked with evaluating complexity. Is this answer too verbose, or did it miss the core constraint of the prompt? By dedicating resources to this meta-level thought process, you are not just mitigating risk, you are dramatically elevating the agent's intelligence. The critic agent transforms the LLM from a marvelous guessing machine into a verifiable, logical deduction engine. So, if you want your AI to move past the uncanny valley of plausible error and enter the realm of true reliability, you must build the infrastructure for self-doubt. The critic agent is the difference between a clever demo and a mission-critical system.